Imagine standing on the brink of a monumental change in your life, but something is holding you back. Could it be the words you've heard from others? Or perhaps it's the things you've accepted into your life without considering the consequences. Today we'll talk about 5 things you should never accept from others. These things can slowly undermine your confidence, your dreams, and your success. Stay with us until the end of this video to discover what's really holding you back and how to break free from it once and for all. When someone tells you you'll never succeed, don't rush to accept it as the truth. The words of others should not become your inner voice. For example, think of Thomas Edison, whose teachers thought he was incapable of learning. If he had accepted those words, the world might never have known the electric light bulb. How many times in your life have you heard someone say that something is impossible? Stop accepting these words as your guide to action. Every time you hear something like this, remember, only you determine your destiny. People around you often try to impose their fears and doubts on you, but your dreams and goals are yours alone. A friend of mine always dreamed of becoming an artist, but his parents constantly told him that art won't make money. He was close to giving up on his dream, but one day he decided to follow his heart. Now, his paintings sell for thousands of dollars. Never accept others' fears as your own. They might be the result of someone else's failures, but they're not your story. Criticism can be constructive, but not all criticism deserves your attention. If you accept every negative remark, you'll eventually stop believing in your abilities. Let's say you receive some negative feedback on your work. It's important to remember that not every critic is a professional, and not every opinion is the truth. Learn to filter information and take only what will help you improve. As the saying goes, let the evil words pass by your ears, but let the good ones into your heart. If someone tries to impose their limitations on you, don't agree to them. The world is full of stories of people who achieved success despite everything. Remember Henry Ford, who failed several businesses before founding Ford Motor Company. If he had accepted others' opinions that he wasn't cut out to be a successful entrepreneur, we wouldn't see his cars on the road today. You too can overcome any obstacles if you don't let others limit you. The negative thinking of those around you can destroy even the most ambitious plans. When someone says, "It's too hard," or "You won't succeed," they are projecting their failures onto you. A friend of mine dropped out of college because he was constantly told that studying was too difficult. Years later, he realized that it was a mistake, but by then, he had missed many opportunities. Never let someone else's negativity poison your thoughts. You are stronger than you think and capable of achieving anything you want. Sometimes people with good intentions try to protect you from potential disappointments by offering realistic plans. They say, dream smaller, or do something more practical. But should you give up your dreams for someone else's idea of reality? For instance, J.K. Rowling ignored such advice when people told her that writing wouldn't lead to success. Now, she is one of the most successful writers in the world. Don't let anyone diminish your dreams. They are yours, and only you decide what they should be. We often adopt others' behavior patterns without even realizing it. For example, you might start behaving more reservedly or aggressively because that's how the people around you act. But think, does this bring you happiness and harmony? If not, reject such habits. A friend of mine started working in a team where a toxic atmosphere prevailed. Over time, he noticed that he had become more irritable and grumpy. He decided to change jobs, and his life improved significantly. Choose behavior patterns that truly bring you joy. Often, people try to impose their values and beliefs on you, but these values might not align with your inner world. For instance, someone might claim that a successful person is one who has a high-paying job and an expensive car. But if your happiness lies elsewhere, don't accept these standards. A friend of mine turned down a high-paying job at a large company to dedicate himself to charity work. Although many didn't understand him, he found his true calling and happiness. Don't be afraid to follow your own path, even if it doesn't fit societal norms. It's also important not to accept others' visions of your future. When someone tells you what lies ahead for you, it's merely their projection. Only you know what you truly want and what you're capable of. For instance, a friend of mine was studying to become an engineer, but his passion was music. Everyone around him said he wouldn't succeed as a musician, but he didn't accept that opinion and continued to pursue music. Today, he's a successful composer. Remember, your future is in your hands, and only you decide what it will be. Sometimes we're offered to adopt or borrow someone else's ideas and concepts without thinking about whether they suit us. A friend of mine who started his own business was bombarded with advice on how to do things right. He followed them without discernment and soon found himself on the verge of bankruptcy. Only when he started doing things his way did his business begin to thrive. Choose what truly resonates with you and reject everything that doesn't align with your beliefs. Other people's expectations can become a heavy burden if you accept them as obligations. Maybe you're told, you must achieve this so we can be proud of you. But these expectations don't always match your desires. A friend of mine spent his whole life trying to live up to his parents' expectations, but never found happiness. It was only when he started following his own dreams that his life changed. Leave others' expectations to those who set them, and allow yourself to walk your own path. If someone offers you participation in negative actions, such as gossip or criticism of others, refuse. It might temporarily create a sense of community, but in the long run, such actions harm your soul. A friend of mine noticed that after spending time with certain people, he felt drained and irritable. He realized that they were constantly discussing and judging others and decided to distance himself from them. Now he feels much better and is surrounded by people who support him. Sometimes we're offered help that isn't sincere but has hidden motives. For example, someone might help you with something, expecting that you'll owe them in the future. A friend of mine accepted help from a colleague, but soon realized that the colleague began to manipulate him, using that favor as leverage. Don't accept help if you sense that there's more to it than just a good intention. Surround yourself with people who help you selflessly. Often we accept others' grievances and conflicts as our own, but these negative emotions shouldn't become part of your life. For example, you might be drawn into a quarrel that has nothing to do with you. A friend of mine became a victim of such a situation when he was asked to take sides in a dispute. He lost important relationships simply because he accepted someone else's grievance. Always ask yourself, is this really my problem? If not, let it go. Don't let others impose a sense of guilt on you for their mistakes or failures. For example, if someone blames you for their setbacks, it's just a way to avoid responsibility. A friend of mine constantly felt guilty for not being able to help a friend overcome his life's difficulties. But one day he realized that he couldn't take responsibility for others' choices and mistakes. Free yourself from false guilt and focus on your own path. There's a belief that you should always agree with those around you to maintain harmony in relationships. But this isn't always the right approach. If you accept others' opinions and views without aligning them with your own, you lose a part of yourself. A friend of mine always agreed with his colleagues to avoid conflicts, but over time, he realized that it led to the loss of his individuality. He started expressing his opinion and noticed that he gained more respect. Stay true to yourself, even if it causes disagreements. Sometimes we take on others' problems, wanting to help, but not all problems require your involvement. For example, if someone constantly comes to you with complaints and requests for help, consider whether you really need to solve them. A friend of mine was always the one people turned to for advice, but at some point, he realized that it drained his energy and time. He learned to say no, saving his energy for his own tasks and goals. Don't be afraid to refuse what isn't your responsibility. When someone imposes a sense of inadequacy on you, it can destroy your self-esteem. For example, you might be compared to others and told that you're not good enough. A friend of mine often heard from his loved ones that he should be like others, and it made him doubt himself. He stopped accepting such comparisons and began working on himself, focusing only on his achievements. As a result, his self-esteem grew, and he became more confident in his abilities. If you're offered to abandon your values for short-term gain, refuse. Values are the foundation of your inner world, and if you stray from them, you lose a part of yourself. For example, someone might offer you quick money if you make a deal with your conscience. A friend of mine found himself in such a situation, but turned down the offer despite the large sum of money. Now he lives with a clear conscience and knows he made the right choice. Always stick to your principles, even if it requires sacrifices.